Hi, this is Dale O'Shields, pastor of Church of the Redeemer. Thanks for joining me for our devotional time. We're talking this week about the things that make a difference in terms of impacting other people with our lives. How do we rise above the most challenging circumstances to be used by God to make a difference in the lives of others? And part of that story, part of that principle comes from the story of two people in the Old Testament named Mordecai and Esther. Mordecai and Esther were Jews living in Persia during a time of great tumult and difficulty. It was a challenging moment in history. It was a time when it was a plan for the Jews to be annihilated. And God wanted to use Esther to put her in a place, the queenship of Persia, so that she could actually save the Jewish nation. As a part of this process, she had to be prepared to go before the king. And the scripture tells us something about this in Esther chapter 2. I'll begin in the latter part of verse number 8 and read verses 8 and 9, or part of verse 8 and also verse 9. Notice what it says. Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hegai, who had charge of the harem. The girl pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with beauty treatments and special food. He assigned to her 7 maids selected from the king's palace and moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. As Esther is being brought into this harem, if you will, to be prepared to go before the king, and the king's going to choose who the next queen is going to be, here's the situation where Esther had to choose how she would deal with it. Is she going to react frustratedly to a potential situation that she doesn't like being in necessarily? It's a situation where she's going to be subjected to living with and potentially having to marry this man that was known to be somewhat of a brute. And so she's trying to process all of this, but she chooses to respond the right way to it. And I want to tell you today and remind all of us today that when it comes to situations in life, all of us make a decision as to whether we will react to them, to the situations, the circumstances, or respond to them. We all know those two words, react. React is an emotional driven attitude or thought process or a set of behaviors. Response is a well thought out. It's based upon principle. And in this situation, instead of reacting out of emotion, Esther responded to God's opportunity for her life with the attitudes that allowed her to be prepared for what God had in store for her future. There are all kinds of things happening in your life right now. You can choose to react to them with your emotions, or you can choose to respond to them with faith and confidence in God. I want to encourage you today to be like Esther, to make the choice that you're not going to react. You are going to respond. And I promise you that as you respond, God will bless you, and you'll see blessings flow into your life and through your life because you've made that decision.